This is your News Source Evening Bulletin for today, Wednesday, the 20th day of May in the year 2020. I'm Gordon Mosley. Here is what we're tracking tonight. The government of Guyana this afternoon announced a data collection mechanism to identify and provide support for vulnerable households impacted by the coronavirus pandemic. In a statement, the National COVID-19 Task Force indicated that under the initiative, persons who are in dire need of assistance or are most vulnerable during this period are the ones who should apply. Assistance will be given on a needs basis, which should ensure that the most affected persons are reached and supported. The identification will be done through an online and manual application process. The online process was opened today, while the manual submission is scheduled to begin by the 27th of May. The application forms could be downloaded from the Ministry of Social Protection's website, mosp.gov.gy. Eligible applicants must submit the completed application forms online, as well as the required supporting documentation. The statement said priority will be given to individuals and households who are currently benefiting from public assistance provided by the Ministry of Social Protection, as well as individuals and households who applied for public assistance and are awaiting a response. Individuals and households who suffered a loss of income due to the COVID-19 are also eligible to receive support, and households headed by senior citizens or persons with disabilities will also be given priority. The initiative is made possible through the collaborative efforts of the National COVID-19 Task Force, the Civil Defense Commission, the Ministry of Social Protection, the Ministry of Communities, and the Ministry of Indigenous Peoples Affairs. More news coming up in a moment.
We all want to stay in touch, right? Now, even more than ever before. So to keep your connection strong, GTT is going 2 for 2. Combine GTT mobile and home internet services and we'll give you 2 gigs of free mobile data each month. With 2 GTT services, you're fully connected at home and on the go. Visit us online at gtt.co.gy/2for2 to learn more and start doing more with 2 for 2 from GTT. Stay safe, stay strong, Guyana. We're in this together.
GBTI is your Guyanese bank, a bank that understands every customer's unique needs, opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. At GBTI, we see you for you. Whether you're buying a new home or car, planning your next vacation or retirement, saving for your child's future, or whether you're ready to take that bold step of investing in your dream business idea, we are with you every step of the way. We hear your stories and watch you focus on your dreams as we share your aspirations. We are more than just banking. We are a family. We are part of your community. Our commitment extends way beyond the walls of our branches and is demonstrated every day in the opportunities we provide to our individual and business customers. The support, time, and commitment we give back to communities across Guyana to help improve the lives of our Guyanese families. Because we see Guyana through your eyes. Parents and guardians, you are encouraged to tune in to the Guyana Learning Channel, Cable 29 or Channel 42 for daily educational and interactive learning sessions. The nursery program airs from 6 hours to 9 hours. Primary programs from 9 hours to 12 noon. We also air informative documentaries from 12 noon to 13 hours, and our secondary level programs are aired from 13 hours to 15 hours. Please continue to listen to our radio broadcasts. The interactive radio instruction for grades 1 to 3 daily on Voice of Guyana from 9 hours 30 to 10 hours for grade 1 pupils, from 10 hours 30 to 11 hours for grade 2s, and 13 hours to 13 hours 30 for grade 3 pupils. Please remember to tune in to benefit from these educational opportunities. A message from the Ministry of Education.
The following is an important message from the Ministry of Public Health. The National Public Health Reference Laboratory is the only authorized facility with the capacity to test for novel coronavirus or COVID-19. The laboratory provides the specific procedures for the collection of samples and can also request for testing to be done. Persons who need to be tested can fall within the following categories: those with acute respiratory illness, persons with a travel history to countries reporting local transmission, and persons who have been in contact with confirmed cases along with other clinical outlines. The Ministry of Public Health has a hotline to provide information on the coronavirus. The public can call 227-4986, extension 215, or 624-3067.
Welcome back. 8 uniformed guards from the Presidential Guard Unit were recently tested positive for the coronavirus and have been in quarantine, according to the Guyana Police Force. These are not new cases and are included in the total number of cases in Guyana. In a brief statement, the police force explained that random tests were done on ranks and the 8 positive results were returned. The first 2 tests date back to early April, while the recent tests were conducted just over 2 weeks ago. The Presidential Guard Unit provides security for the President and Prime Minister and their official residences, as well as security for former presidents. A senior police source explained this evening that the guards who were tested positive are not those who are part of the Body Protection Unit, which provides direct bodyguard services for the head of state. It was explained that the uniformed guards are the ones that usually provide security for the office of the president and the official residences. It was further explained that none of the ranks who tested positive worked directly with the president, and therefore he would not have been at risk. Since the curfew measures have been put in place, President David Granger has been mostly working from his private residence on the east bank of Demerara. More than 200 Guyanese nationals who were vacationing in the U.S. when the airports were closed are pleading with the National COVID-19 Task Force to grant permission for them to return home on a repatriation flight. Most of the Guyanese have found themselves stranded in the New York and Florida areas. They said they continue to be hopeful that their situation will be examined carefully. Among those stranded in Florida is local doctor Bibi Hussein and her husband. Dr. Hussein said there is too much uncertainty about when the airports will be reopened, and that is the reason why they are pushing to be allowed back home at their own cost and after completing coronavirus tests.
Since the second extension in April, I've been in regular contact with the Consul General in Miami, Mr. Ramzan Ali. So he has organized with an airline here with similar repatriation flights that brought Americans from Guyana here. Those same flights, he was hoping that we would be allowed on so that we can return home. So he, to date, I think they have 160 persons who has expressed their desire in returning home. That's from New York, and 82 persons in Florida. So he has the list of persons who want to go home. He's in contact with Eastern Airline in terms of organizing a flight to take us home. They have already agreed, but all of that is still pending approval from the government officials.
Dr. Hussein said she would prefer to be in Guyana offering assistance to her medical colleagues in the fight against COVID-19 rather than to be stuck in the U.S.
I mean, at the beginning when I was stuck here, and many times, this is my husband with me, I've told him that I want to be with my colleagues. This is not what I spent 5 years in medical school to do. I was trained to do, this is what we were trained all those years for. And it just like, I can't be there with my colleagues. I can't be there to help. I can't be there to help the Guyanese population in this against COVID-19.
Another Guyanese national stranded in the U.S. is Rihanna Abraham. She said she and her family just want to come home. She said their vacation has gone on longer than they wanted it to go on, and they plan to follow all the guidelines and protocols once they get back home.
They're willing to do anything that's possible. I just want to get home. That's all. That's my only concern. I'm so stuck here. It's been, because since February we're here. Supposed to get home back in March, you know? And it's like this. You're just getting that hope that you're gonna get home sooner and sooner, and the dates keep extending, and we don't know what's gonna happen on June 3rd if they're gonna extend again.
And over in Trinidad and Tobago, young Haley Wilson said she too is hoping that permission will be granted for her to come home. The government recently granted permission for Guyanese law students in Trinidad to be able to return home once they get tested for the coronavirus and present those test results 2 days before traveling.
I was called directly on the 20th of March and told that the flight was canceled the morning time before I reached the airport. From since then, I was trying to contact the Ministry of Health in Guyana, sending them a message, Office of the Prime Minister and so forth. I was sent a message to send my message that I sent to them through an email. I sent the email and all I was replied back was received.
The National COVID-19 Task Force is expected to meet again later this week and look at the various applications by citizens abroad to be allowed to come home. Permission was also granted recently for some Guyanese cruise ship workers and nationals who were stranded in 2 Caribbean islands. Officials of the task force have indicated that all of the requests are being examined. The Director of Primary Healthcare Services at the Ministry of Public Health, Dr. Hortensia Hamilton, is warning citizens again that the coronavirus disease remains a silent killer and should not be taken for granted. 10 persons have lost their lives locally to the disease since the first case was reported on the 11th of March. Guyana now has 68 active cases after 47 persons recovered from the virus. There has been no new case recorded in the past 24 hours. In the medical update for today, Dr. Hamilton said too many persons are still putting their lives and the lives of their families at risk by not following the guidelines set out by the Public Health Ministry.
You and I know the high value we place on our families in Guyana and the pleasure we derive from the welcoming and comfortable arms of our loved ones. So it begs this question, which I'm addressing directly to the male. Why then would you deliberately want to jeopardize the life of your family members? Put them at unnecessary risk by contracting the coronavirus disease because of your reckless behavior. Most of you are acting as if COVID-19 cannot touch you, that you are beyond its reach, and that the health guidelines are a waste of time.
In Guyana, the majority of COVID-19 cases are men, and more than 80% of the country's total cases are from the Georgetown area, making the nation's capital city the epicenter of the pandemic locally. Still, health officials have found themselves issuing several warnings for citizens to be more responsible.
I know many of you are macho and perhaps think that wearing a mask makes you seem less of a man. But there are times when you must put that pride aside and exercise wise judgment. This is the time because COVID-19 is a silent killer and complying with the control measures is of paramount importance if your family is to be safe. From our reports, you would have been hearing that the ratio of males to females positively confirmed with the disease is significantly higher. Today, it is 7-1 to 54. And of those who have died, 8 out of 10 are males. Further, the age group under the lens is the 16 to 59 age group. So my dear males, I am sure that you want to be around to hug and kiss your loved ones at home rather than be 6 feet under the ground in a cemetery somewhere. COVID-19 will mash you up and break up that same home circle in which you find comfort.
Dr. Hamilton said the home remains the safest place from the pandemic, and if there is a need to venture out of the home, persons should ensure they are wearing a mask. As more Guyanese companies and suppliers facilitate online shopping with the current COVID-19 measures in place, the Competition and Consumer Affairs Commission is advising those companies that domestic online sales are subject to the Consumer Affairs Act. The Consumer Affairs body is in receipt of complaints from online shoppers, and in a statement today, the Commission reminded that return and refund policies, warranties, and policies in regard to cancellations are still subject to the provisions of the Consumer Affairs Act. According to the Consumer Affairs Commission, suppliers will still be held accountable for breaches of the Consumer Affairs law. It said considering the new modes of transactions, considerations would have to be put in place by the Commission for both consumers and suppliers so that no one is disadvantaged. The Commission said customers should still be afforded a period of 7 working days to return an item for an exchange or for a refund if the item is no longer wanted. It is the responsibility of the consumer to ensure that the item is returned according to the stipulations of the Act, which would include the item being in its original package and not used or damaged. The supplier can charge up to 10% as a restocking fee, and return costs would have to be covered by the consumer in this case. The Commission also said if the item is defective, the cost of the return should be borne by the supplier upon establishing that the item was defective. If the payment was a layaway, the Consumer Affairs Act allows 75% refunds to consumers. The Commission is also imploring suppliers not to be scrupulous at this time to consumers who have booked events, which had to be cancelled due to the pandemic. Suppliers are being asked to offer consumers their correct refunds. The presidential candidate and other officials of the People's Progressive Party met today with the chairperson and other officials of the Guyana Elections Commission and recommended an extension by no more than 1 week for the completion of the recount of votes. GCOM has been looking to extend the 25-day timeline that it set for itself to complete the recount. With less than 50% of the total boxes counted, the Commission added 2 extra workstations for the recount, taking the total number of workstations up to 12. PPP presidential candidate Irfan Ali today told reporters that more workstations will have to be put in place to fast-track the recount process. He said any extension should not go beyond more than 7 days.
So we discussed a number of possible measures GCOM can implement to ensure that we achieve not necessarily a target of 25 days, but taking everything into consideration, not to exceed that target by more than a week.
Mr. Ali also explained that his party has made a number of recommendations that should be able to assist the Elections Commission to complete the recount in the shortest possible timeline while still achieving transparency.
It is clear that even with the 2 additional stations, much more is needed if we are to achieve the target of 100 boxes per day. One of the first recommendations we looked at and we shared with the Commission is examining a quota system whereby a minimum quota is set for every single station, and those stations work every day until they complete their quota.
Mr. Ali said the Elections Commission is hoping to reach a daily recount target of 100 boxes. Yesterday saw the highest number of boxes counted in a single day since the recount started. A total of 77 boxes were counted yesterday. The PPP presidential candidate said he hopes that the Commission will take his party's recommendations on board to assist in quickening the recount.
So we ask for a commitment from GCOM to have these decisions written as part of the basket of issues, and that there is clarity in terms of the briefing to the supervisors of the workstations every morning.
The Elections Commission was hoping to add 6 more workstations to the Arthur Chung Convention Center, but in keeping with physical distancing requirements for COVID-19, just 2 new workstations were put in place. In the world of business now, the number of Guyanese nationals employed with the ExxonMobil operations locally has jumped to 2,200 over the past few months, representing 53% of the company's total workforce. Additionally, the company has spent $7 billion Guyana dollars on local suppliers in the first 4 months of this year. The figures were made known this morning during a radio interview with ExxonMobil's Senior Director of Public and Government Affairs, Deidre Moe. Appearing on the 94.1 Jumpstart Morning Show, Ms. Moe explained that the company has been paying attention to Guyana's local content policy that is now in place. She explained that despite the coronavirus pandemic and its impact on local businesses, there has been no real impact on the supply chain for Exxon from local companies.
We've seen really no real impacts in supply chain, in terms of food and those type of supplies. I think the businesses have done a really nice job adjusting to the work that has to be done, and making sure that their folks are safe while keeping supply chains moving forward throughout here. The local content, the great thing about first quarter, our local content policy, the local content policy that obviously the government has and we've worked for, obviously focuses continually on workforce development and supplier development, and that work still continues.
The official, however, noted that there are likely to be adjustments moving forward, as the company will have to address the long-term impact of the ongoing coronavirus pandemic.
One of the things that we do have to remain cognizant of is that it is not business as usual, as I say, and so we will face probably potential adjustments in the coming months. And so we'll be watching that closely, but the businesses and the partners that we're working with have done just a great job adjusting to the situation we all find ourselves in.
The operations of the ExxonMobil company has continued non-stop. Production has been ongoing and shipments have also been ongoing. The company's Senior Director of Government and Public Affairs explained that although the company has been able to bring in some of its overseas workers while following the health protocols and guidelines, it has been affected by the ongoing situation with the pandemic globally and locally. She said the company has been able to operate offshore Guyana in a safe and responsible manner.
Absolutely, yeah. We're still producing, and cargoes are still leaving, which is good. And that production, it's important to kind of continue. Cargoes are sold a couple months in advance, and so it's important to make sure that we think through and have methodical plans and not make abrupt decisions on production. In the early stages of any type of production, you're in a phase where you're trying to make sure that people know that your oil that you have here, they're testing the quality. They want to make sure it's reliable for the long term, and that this is an important time for Liza oil going into the market.
Since the closure of the international airports, the government has allowed special flights with Exxon relief workers for its offshore operations. Those workers would have to follow health guidelines once they arrive in Guyana, including quarantine. Those costs are covered by the company. Ms. Mo said Exxon will continue to monitor the situation and ensure its staff and contractors remain safe. Guyana started oil production back in December. The country's second 1 million barrel lift from the Liza Destiny floating production, storage, and offloading vessel started today. Guyana earned $55 million from its first oil shipment. Let's tell you now that a woman and 2 men are in police custody after they were busted at the Durban Street Georgetown house with more than 80 pounds of marijuana. Ranks from police headquarters rushed down to the house on Tuesday afternoon after receiving a tip. At the house, the investigators found the woman who lives there and 2 men. One of the men lives along the east coast of Demerara while the other lives in Charlestown. 390 grams of marijuana was found in the possession of the man who resides along the east coast, according to the police. The police carried out a detailed search of the house and found 2 barrels and a box with more than 80 pounds of marijuana in several packages. All 3 of the suspects were arrested and are now awaiting charges. From all appearances, the Durban Street house was being used as a distribution and selling point for marijuana users and traffickers. The investigation is ongoing tonight. Across the Region is coming up next.
Wondering how you can access free learning materials for your children? Parents and guardians, please visit the Ministry of Education's website at www.education.gov.gy to access textbooks, past papers, and practice tests to keep your child engaged in continuous learning. When you have accessed the site, go to the Students tab, wait for a second, and choose the appropriate option. You now have access to the resources you need. You are encouraged to take advantage of this opportunity as we strive to provide the best education for the nation's children. A message from the Ministry of Education.
They've made a positive impact on the heavy-duty transportation industry in Guyana since they've arrived. Guyanese are amazed at their power, durability, efficiency, and superior handling capabilities. These are brand new trucks, manufactured in partnership with German, Italian, and French companies. They have a powerful reputation for operating under very adverse Guyanese conditions and come with full after-sales service and spare parts. They're the most sought-after trucks today, with over 500 units in Guyana, and they're available in over 100 countries, including South America and the Caribbean. Be smart. Buy brand new ST Howo trucks today. Call 608-4998 and arrange for an inspection at ST Truck Guyana Incorporated, Block B, Public Road, Covenant, East Bank, Demerara.
We are legions of men standing strong, but never too proud to stoop and help someone. We must send a clear signal to all. Do right. Walk in upright ways, knowing that's what being a man is all about. And ever aware that things will only get worse when good men do nothing. Stand strong. Be the one to live right.
Falls, a trademark of China's Zhanghao Incorporated, located at Land of Cane in East Bank, Demerara, was incorporated in April of 2013, with over $10 billion Guyana dollars invested in a state-of-the-art 100,000 barrel fuel storage facility, a modern service station, an office complex, and a modern wharf that can berth international vessels. Having no association with any other fuel company, Falls imports its own fuel, which meets quality specifications, has all the legal permits, and is in compliance with international requirements. Its bulk facility can load 8 trucks simultaneously at a rate of 1,000 liters per minute, while the service station can service 12 cars at a time using computerized fuel pumps, which can facilitate the use of ATM cards. Through its professional team of mostly Guyanese, Falls wholesales and retails fuels to the public, including farmers and miners, and will continue to positively contribute to Guyana by providing quality products, service, and attractive prices. Try Falls today for all your fuel needs.
The following is an important message from the Ministry of Public Health. Getting your workplace ready for COVID-19. Surfaces such as desks, tables, and telephones with keyboards must be wiped with disinfectant regularly, or at least every few hours. Use containers of hand sanitizers and place them in prominent places around the workplace. Provide access to places where staff can wash their hands with soap and water, and promote regular hand washing at the workplace. The Ministry of Public Health has a hotline to provide information on the coronavirus. Members of the public can call 227-4986 or 624-3067.
Across the region right now, the Caribbean Community CARICOM said it deplores the latest attack by the European Commission on the economic well-being of some of its member states after they were named on the latest European Union list of countries with strategic anti-money laundering, combating the financing of terrorism deficiencies. According to CARICOM, the list, which includes 4 member states, was published despite the European Council in objecting to a list submitted for approval last year, concluding that the Commission's submission was not established in a transparent and resilient process. On May 7, the European Commission said the countries which have been listed are the Bahamas, Barbados, Jamaica, along with Botswana, Cambodia, Ghana, Mauritius, Mongolia, Myanmar, Nicaragua, Panama, and Zimbabwe. But Guyana is among 6 other third world countries that have been delisted. The EU said under the Anti-Money Laundering Directive, the Commission has revised its list, taking into account developments at international level since 2018. In Jamaica, at the end of 2019, some 389 gangs were identified as operating in Jamaica, according to the Minister of National Security, Dr. Horace Chang. Chang, who was tabling a report of the Joint Select Committee that reviewed the Criminal Justice Suppression of Criminal Organizations Act, commonly called the anti-gang legislation, indicated that it represents an increase of 8 gangs when compared to the 381 identified in 2018. He said based on the latest assessment carried out by the National Intelligence Bureau of the Jamaican Constabulary Force, there were 389 criminal gangs in Jamaica. Of the 389 gangs, 250 or 64% were deemed to be active, while the remaining 139 were classified as dormant. The National Security Minister informed the Jamaican Parliament that the corporate area continues to account for the largest proportion of gangs, and he underscored that they enjoy the strong backing of some communities. And finally tonight, international news. Brazil has reported more than 1,000 deaths from the coronavirus in a single day, for the first time amid warnings that the outbreak is weeks away from its peak in Brazil. The country has 271,628 confirmed cases of the coronavirus, but the true number is likely to be higher because of insufficient testing. Far-right President Jair Bolsonaro has repeatedly played down the risk of COVID-19. Yesterday, he again defended use of the unproven drug chloroquine as a remedy despite alerts it may be unsafe. Mr. Bolsonaro's repeated defiance of public health expert advice on the coronavirus has led to the resignation of 2 trained doctors as health minister in the past month. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting.